about that time, I moved over to a small joint venture, and we worked together. I was doing the development of 2 large firms. And we were in those positions for 8 years, thereabouts. John went over from there to Southeast Business Partnership, which he ran for a number of years quite well. And I went on to found First Century Development. And the only conclusion that I've been able to draw from that is neither one was an old damn job. So, but John and I have been friends for a very long time, and I think he has had a huge impact in a positive way in the Denver community. His work with ski country, with the Metro Chamber, with SCDT has been exemplary, and he's contributed a great deal to Denver. He is a Harvard MBA and a wrestler tech engineer, so he comes with a good background, and I'm just really pleased to introduce my friend John Wade, my cousin.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm honored to be here with you. I'm delighted to see my good friend Nick Dean, who probably 15 years ago took a huge risk and nominated me to join this club when I was working downtown. And I think that it speaks volumes that you allowed him to stay as a member in spite of that. Nick, it's great to see you. And this club has done wonderful things for many years. And I would like to applaud you for the work that you've done with the Branch Rickey Award. I think that that is just a fantastic recognition for a sport that we all love. And I think it's really neat. I honestly did not realize that you still had ownership of the statue at the baseball stadium. So before I go through the history of Colorado's tourism industry, and I think I've got some interesting points for you to observe, I wanted to share a story with you that occurred just in the last few weeks. I was fly fishing up in northwest Wyoming, and as I've driven into the town of Cody, I've been listening to the difficulty that some of the campers and hikers have been having with bear. And I said, you know, when you're walking around with a 5-weight fly rod and the bears are about, then you don't feel totally secure. So I went into an Ace Hardware and inquired with regard to bear repellent. And for those of you that have not had the occasion to buy this product, it's a capsule that's maybe a pint in size that you strap on your chest. And if you see a bear up close and personal, you pull out the bear repellent, ideally spray the bear in the eyes, and you don't get attacked. So some $35 later, I now am the owner of this bear repellent. And the fellow at the cash register at Ace Hardware said, now make sure that you read the instructions before you use this product. And I said, well, of course I would do that, but why do you ask? He said, well, about 3 days ago, a biker and his girlfriend came in and purchased the exact same product. He said after they'd actually paid for it, they went out in the parking lot. About 2 minutes later, the biker comes charging in and he says, you need to call 911. And I said, why was that? He said, well, I got out in the parking lot and I asked my girlfriend to hold up her arms. I sprayed her all over her body and she passed out. So that's a piece of tourism. You can take a poke at bikers. What I want to share with you is, as we observe the history of tourism in Colorado, I wanted to focus on 8 elements that I think existed historically and exist to this day. Colorado obviously has some natural appeal, beauty, a very unique history, strategic location as it relates to the country. We frankly, for a long time, had to push awareness in order to get people to come and then repeat their visits. We, for a long time, suffered from a lack of accessibility, first by people not having highways, not having adequate railroad, not having adequate airports. Now we seem to be very well in that category. Lodging options became increasingly important. We have subsequently added terrific activities and amenities throughout the state of Colorado, but increasingly we are finding significant competition. So what I would like to do today is to kind of give you a little bit of a historic overview of what brings us to where we are today, and then I'll speak specifically about kind of the strengths and weaknesses that we have as a state of Colorado, and then I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you start out with Colorado, much of our historic appeal in the area of tourism started back in Mesa Verde. 550 to 1300 AD area, the ancestral Peplins lived at Mesa Verde. And many people felt that the reason that they lived there was for security, living in the mountain cliffs. About 1600 was the first time that the horse was introduced to people living in Colorado. And in 1682, the French first explored parts of Colorado. And then in 1776, the Spanish traveled throughout western Colorado. And in that time frame, it's believed that there perhaps were as many as several hundred people that lived in all of Colorado. Then came the explorers, principally Zebulon Pike and others. And for the time frame between 1800 and 1840, first Colorado was acquired from the French in the Louisiana Purchase. Zebulon Pike and these others did a lot of traffic throughout the state, and that was really the first time that people started to become aware of our state. In the 1833 time frame, Bent's Fort was created down near the community of La Junta, and there was significant trading of the various pelts that the trappers had found. And then some of the early Mexican land grants took place around 1840. And in 1840, the anticipated or the estimated population of the state was still only several thousand people. This is a rendering of Bent's Fort. For those of you that have not been down to La Junta to visit it, I would strongly recommend it. A variation of Bent's Fort is what the restaurant up in Morrison was designed after. Between 1840 and 1880, as it relates to tourism, some significant things happened. In 1848, Mexico ceded western Colorado as part of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. 1851, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but in 1851, perhaps the most significant thing that occurred was that for the first time we had agricultural irrigation, which prompted people to think that they might actually be able to come and live here. 1859, gold and oil was discovered. And then between the 1860s and 1870s, perhaps the most significant thing that occurred was that the Denver Metro Chamber's predecessor was established because we were being circumvented by railroad. It was going to go north of Colorado, and a group of people such as yourself raised some $400,000 to build a spur, which allowed us to have a level of transportation that Colorado had never had before. And then in 1876, we became a state, and a lot of people don't remember that we were actually deciding votes in the presidential election in 1876. And that was one of the reasons that we were created as a state at the time that we were. And the state population in 1880 was approximately 200,000. With the advent of getting a spur reaching up to Colorado, we were becoming increasingly a tourism possibility. Up until that point in time, people could not get here. And about 1880, Buffalo Bill and others such as he started to aggressively promote the Western culture. Buffalo Bill was based in Cody, Wyoming, but he spent a lot of time in Colorado, and he did a lot of marketing, if you will, of the Western ethic, both on the East Coast as well as throughout Europe. The Union Station here in Denver opened in approximately that time frame. In the 1890s, the Denver Post was established. Catherine Lee Bates wrote America the Beautiful. And there are a number of U.S. presidents that spent time coming through Colorado on railroad, staying primarily at the Hotel Colorado. And Teddy Roosevelt was probably the most prominent. It was at the Hotel Colorado that the teddy bear was introduced to the American public. So the awareness of tourism in Colorado was becoming increasingly important. By 1900, Mayor Spear had the foresight and the vision to start talking about beautifying the city and county of Denver. We had the first National Western Stock Show, the U.S. Mint opened, and in that same time frame, Mesa Verde finally became a national park. In the 1910s, the Broadmoor opened. The first Blood and Thunder Western novels were written by Zane Grey and others. And there was this marketing, which was not being paid for by anybody particularly, but increasingly Colorado and the Western experience was becoming known. And in 1920, the state population was 940,000 people. And this gives you a sense of the Denver Union Station. And if you look there right in that front